Wild cards make the game much more fun. Normally wild cards are introduced gradually, starting with subtraction, then multiplication and division, then fractions, and finally roots and indices, which are not usually used in primary school. Let's run through an example game. I'm going to show all the cards in my hand. Remember, usually you wouldn't be able to see each other's hands. I'm also not going to use a whole pack, as that would take too long. In this game, we will only use subtraction, multiplication, and division wildcards. While going through the game, observant players may notice that some good moves are not exploited. This is because I want to show certain things, not because there is anything wrong with the moves that I ignore. Make sure that you put your cards in order. Being well organized allows you to play faster and win more cards in timed games. Wild cards should be placed at the beginning or the end of your hand, not mixed in with the number cards. The non-dealer uses their wild card, times 2, on the 4 to make 8. 4 times 2 is 8. Using a wild card gives you another turn. Only using a number card can end a turn. This means that the non-dealer can take the cards immediately. That's 3 cards. The dealer uses their wild card, divide 2, on the 12 to make 6. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. The dealer takes this immediately with the 6, winning 3 cards. Notice that because the non-dealer had played 2 cards in their turn, the times 2 and the 8, they had to pick up 2 cards from the pile to keep 5 cards in their hand. The non-dealer must discard because the dealer cleared the center. There is nothing particularly useful for the non-dealer to do, so the best card to discard is the 7. 7 is a good card to discard because it doesn't work well with most wild cards. It only works with the times 2 and the subtraction cards, and not with any of the other multiplications, any divisions, or any fractions. 11 or 13 are even better cards to discard because they don't work with the times 2. The dealer cannot use the 7 and so discards the 11 because that's another hard card to use with wild cards. We will go through this turn step by step. First, the non-dealer joins the 11 and the 7 to make 18. Remember, this is a join. They have not yet used a number card from their hand, so the turn is not over. Next, the non-dealer divides the 18 by 3 to make 6. Remember, this is a wild card. They have not yet used a number card from their hand, so their turn isn't over. The non-dealer could just take with the 6 now, but they have had a better idea. The non-dealer multiplies the 6 by 5 to make 30. Remember, this is a wild card. They haven't yet used a number card from their hand, so their turn still isn't over. Next, the non-dealer divides the 30 by 5 to make 6 once more. Remember, this is a wild card. They've not yet used a number card from their hand, so their turn still isn't over. Finally, the non-dealer takes this massive build with their 6, all in one turn, winning 6 more cards, a total of 9. Look for wild cards that cancel each other out. It's like being given 2 cards free. Fractions sometimes work with multiplications in the same way. With the center clear, the dealer must discard. The dealer discards their 3 because the 1 makes a very useful card for builds, and the 3 is unlikely to be very useful for takes. But in this situation, none of the cards are particularly good to discard. Wild cards are useful to your opponent. You should only ever discard wild cards if you absolutely must, and remember that discarding wild cards does not end your turn. You must discard a number card too. The non-dealer plays the -3 card on the 3. 3 take away 3 equals 0. Then 0 times 3 equals 0. Then 0 divided by 4 equals 0. Then the non-dealer plays the 5 to make 5. Having played a number card, they must wait. The dealer plays the 1 on the bill to make 6. 5 plus 1 equals 6. The non-dealer plays the -4 on the bill to make 2. 6 minus 4 equals 2. The turn is not yet over, so they can take their build with their 2. They've now won 17 cards. The dealer now has a 6, 8, and 14, and if he discards either the 6 or the 8, he might be able to make a build of 14. So the dealer discards 6. With nothing more useful to do, the non-dealer discards the 5. As planned, the dealer now places 8 onto the 6 in the center for a build of 14. The non-dealer politely steals the build with their 14. Seeing that the game is nearly over, the dealer decides to limit their penalty by discarding their wild card first, and then a number card. The non-dealer discards their final card. This is the last turn. The dealer must either match or join to make 14. They can't go, so the game is over. The non-dealer wins the 4 cards left in the center because they took the last take. The dealer has a 1-card penalty. The non-dealer wins by 24 cards to 2. Your turn doesn't end when you play a wild card, as a wild card played from your hand gives you another turn. Make sure you replace all the cards used from your hand. Try to avoid getting too many wild cards. If you have 5 wild cards in your hand, you must discard them all and pick up 5 new cards in your turn, and that's the end of your turn. This is a very good thing for your opponent, so try to avoid it. If you discard a wild card, your turn is not over. Try not to discard wild cards that your opponent can easily use. Remember that 7, 11, and 13 don't work well with most of the wild cards. Don't forget easy builds and joins. Just because you've got wild cards doesn't mean you always have to use them.